Hi, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we're able to showcase some of the work that our past students have done. I'm Charlotte. I'm one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have Ela with us. Ela did one of our Future Scholars Program courses. So why don't you introduce yourself? So tell us where you're from, what grade you're in, and kind of what your academic interests are.
So hello everyone, I'm Ela Turhan. I'm currently a year 11 IB student at Narrabundah College. I've been living in Australia for a year, but I'm originally from Turkey. I've been generally interested in molecular genetics, bioinformatics, phylogenetics, and microbiology.
And can you tell us the name of the course that you took, who the professor was, and kind of in general what it was about?
So the name of the program that I've completed was Bioinformatics and Drug Discovery, which was led by Dr. Eşref Zarkan and Dr. Marta Matuzewska. So we had two phases in our program. The first one was our learning weeks, and the second phase was the research weeks called. And also we had two different type of sessions. So one of our sessions were our lectures with Dr. Zarkan, and they were generally about the fundamentals of biology and microbiology. And then in our TA session with Dr. Matuzewska, we get to ask questions about the topics we have covered in those lectures, and you are always required to do some extra curricular reading and read papers, and we had the chance to discuss those in our TA sessions. And in our research weeks, actually, and before that, after learning more about biology and microbiology, we get to more specific about MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and McKay gene. And then in those research weeks, we focus more on writing a research paper, and also getting those skills such as making bioinformatical analysis and generally setting and planning the research paper.
And then can you talk to us a little bit about the research that you did? So what the topic of your course, what the topic of your research paper was, and what your experience was doing a research project like this?
So the title of my project is the phylogenetic diversity and prevalence of enterotoxin and antibiotic resistance genes in Staphylococcus aureus. In our program, as I've talked about this before, we were more specifically focused on Staphylococcus aureus and the antibiotic resistance genes, and specifically McKay gene. So let's talk a little bit about the Staphylococcus aureus. So S. aureus is a pathogen that causes diseases. And one of the toxins that S. aureus produces is staphylococcal enterotoxin, which causes gastrointestinal disease. And gastrointestinal disease is difficult to treat both in humans and livestock. And as I've said also before, S. aureus have antibiotic resistance genes that could be transmitted with the contamination of humans and livestock, and their higher phylogenetic diversity could possibly make the treatment harder for gastrointestinal disease. So therefore, in this research project, I looked at a staphylococcal enterotoxin containing population to see the evolutionary adaptations that S. aureus have made in order to survive against different antibiotics. And therefore, this is significant in learning more about the pathogenic potential of S. aureus and surveillance of staphylococcal enterotoxin associated gastrointestinal disease.
And was this your first time doing a research project like this?
Actually, this was not my first research project. I have also done a research project in UC San Diego in one of my courses about molecular genetics and biodiversity, but it was more about like a poster type of research project. But this is my first time writing a long research paper.
And was that like a program separate from school that you just spoke about, or was that research project in school?
No, actually it was like separately from school, because in school generally we learn about like fundamentals of biology, since nobody has to be interested in specific fields, so I needed to satisfy interest in specific fields. That's why I applied for different programs.
And you said that this was your first time doing kind of a written research paper. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your general experience was? And was it difficult for you?
So my general experience is that, to be honest, it was one of the best 3 months in my education life. So I'm really glad that I've completed and attended this program. And I'm really thankful for the contributions from my mentors, Dr. Zarka and Dr. Marta Motusevska. Actually, one of the things that I struggled in this program was the pressure that I've applied on myself. So students who apply to this program are generally specifically really passionate about science, so they have kind of stress and pressure on themselves, and which is normal. But I think that's one of the things that pushed me and improved my process a bit. So, and the second thing that was challenging, but I think I've completed and accomplished this as one of my skills, that to write a research paper actually is kind of a philosophy, a different thinking style. First of all, we get to write our aims and then just have a really simple idea and then explain how that simple idea refers to the general meaning and general position in the literature and in science. And this was actually a little bit hard for me, since this was my whole writing a proper research paper. But then when I get used to this philosophic thinking style, when I was reading different papers, I realized that while reading different papers, they're always a simple idea. And when I read those, I did not just think about the biology or figures or some specific concepts, but it's general meaning. So this was really valuable for me, and I think this philosophical thinking style has helped me through my classes at school, such as in maths and science. So I'm really grateful for that.
And one of the things that we really like to emphasize as a part of our kind of mentorship programs in both the programs is that our mentors are really there to act as a mentor rather than the traditional model of teaching. So they're not meant to just transfer information onto you, but really guide you in your own path of thinking. So you spoke a little bit about how you transitioned through the program into your research project in the second half of the course. So can you talk a little more about how that was and how your mentor and your TA kind of help guide you along your own thinking journey?
So as I've seen their passion and their motivation and their love for this specific field that they have, my mentors have, actually this was kind of inspiring and motivated me throughout this whole research program. So when they were teaching, as we were making some discussions, they were just super interested in this topic and super excited. So this even help me to make more research, and so that I can make more discussions with them. So in this program, so you don't have a relationship like you have at school with your teacher. It's more of a closer relationship with someone that guides you all the time. So I was actually shy a little bit in the beginning, but then I get used to it. So we were just 4 students. With those 4 students, we had a really sincere environment where we get to ask questions and discuss our struggles or excitements in this program. And whenever I needed help, or whenever I had a question or a topic or a research paper that I was interested in, I just sent those ones throughout Slack. So Slack is a platform that we could just reach our mentors easily, rather than using email, which was actually helped a little bit more to contact them. When I had those questions or topics to discuss with them, I just sent them, and then they replied to me really quickly. And this helped me just learn those topics. This helped me just satisfy interest in those topics, which was great.
Nice. And then you mentioned the other students that you had in your course. So just for those listening, our FSP program, so our Future Scholars program is a group course. So we do cap each course at 5 students. So the maximum number of peers each student would have would be 4. So can you talk to us a little bit about how it was working with other students, where they came from, and kind of what your experience was, and if there was any benefits of getting to meet other students?
So other 3 of my peers, one of them from Australia, the other one was from Singapore, and the other one was like from India. So I think we were really lucky to gather in such a program like Future Scholar program, because we are 16 and 7-year-old girls, and we all have like different backgrounds and different brains. So when we were in the lessons, for example, I think about something and then they just tell their like thinking process, and I realized that this is such a different thinking style, and this actually has contributed me a lot. And the lucky thing that you get in this program is that, for example, in school or the place that you live in, not like everyone is really or like has to be interested in the field that you're interested in, because it's quite specific, like microbiology, genetics, or bioinformatics. So you're lucky that you can talk about those fields and make discussions with them. So I think I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the very cool things about the Future Scholars program is your ability to meet other students, and especially from around the world, that, you know, like you mentioned, have very different thinking styles, very different backgrounds. So it really gives you the opportunity to hear from students that are interested in the same things as you, because, you know, in your high school, there might not be any, there, you know, usually isn't any classes that you would be able to talk about this kind of stuff. So I think that is very cool.
Also, sorry, can
Yeah.
I add another thing about that?
Yeah.
So actually, like, sciences generally might be seen for like some people that it's an individual creation, but it's actually not, as we also refer to the other papers and use the information that was proven in other research and studies. It's actually a really social community. So as we pass through the information to other people, the information could be more developed. So as I talk with my peers, it's actually, so we have we improve our level in these fields.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good point. And then to talk about your, we're going to go back to your research a little bit, but talk about the findings of your research. Was there anything that you found that you weren't expecting to find, or that surprised you, or anything that maybe changed your perceptions of the topic?
Yeah. So in my study, firstly, I did a multi-locus genome sequencing analysis to investigate the surveillance of SRS and phylogenetic relationship among different strains. And I found that in the evolutionary process of SRS, various strains have emerged. And in my data set that I've collected from internet and CBI, I observed that strains with a significant number of genomes are prevalent in humans and livestock, which shows a high risk of contamination and getting gastrointestinal disease. So for the second part of my results, which are the phylogenetic analysis results, I found that in the evolutionary process of SRS, there are dynamic gains and loss of antibiotic resistance genes. And this actually explains that antibiotic resistance genes have higher levels of genetic diversity, as they're also passed through different strains in the presence of enterotoxin.
And just in kind of basic terms that a lay person would understand, can you tell us the significance of those findings in kind of the general day-to-day life?
So as I've talked before, SRS goes to gastrointestinal disease, and learning more about the features of these genes and the genetic features of this bacteria could actually help us learn more about the treatment process of the gastrointestinal disease. So this is kind of specific. Actually, like, there are more type of disease that SRs cause, but this was my focus.
Nice. And then to pivot a little to kind of the outcomes of the program. So can you tell us if taking this course or having experience with writing a research paper has given you any insights into your future? Has it maybe kind of shaped your path moving forward at all?
Yeah, of course. So actually, so my interest for genetics started in 8th grade when I was learning about the Mendelian genetics. And I've discovered the independency in making just a simple research question and getting the results really quickly. And then in the recent years, as we have experienced the COVID-19 pandemic, I was just fascinated and shocked with how a pathogen can have such a big impact on human health and how it can just change its evolutionary and improve its evolutionary process to survive. But my interest was not really in virus. As I've learned in school, my interests were actually in bacteria, but I wanted to combine my genetic background and bioinformatic background as I've taken from the other courses, but I also improve in these courses, like follow my developments in this course as well. I want to combine my background with microbiology. So I actually want to learn the genetic perspective of microbiology. So this program actually helped me learn and gave me an idea about like if I just continue pursuing this field in the future, that I will be really loving the thing that I will be doing. And I also, since I have combined these two interests of mine, I will be also discovering other fields as well, because there are always like other options when I don't know what field that I will be most interested in. But I'm really happy that I've experienced my excitement for these two fields in this program.
Nice. And then my last question for you is, if you were speaking to another high school student who is thinking about doing one of the programs, do you have any advice or anything that you would say to them regarding the value of doing a project or a program like this?
I think in high school, doing a research project and writing a proper research paper is actually a really higher level of thinking process, and is combined from a lot of efforts. So if you really love the field that you're interested in or want to learn more, you can just, so I would recommend this program to the students that really love the field that they're interested in and they want to learn more and also want to improve in such like small groups in CCIR with two great scientists.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much for chatting with me, and congratulations again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.
Oh, thank you. Oh, also, can I conclude with last words?
Yeah.
I also want to thank to the CCIR team and my mentors for just creating such a great organization and pursuing this organization perfectly. And I'm really honored to complete this program as one of the most prestigious and had the most contributions to the science in the world, as it's the University of Cambridge. So I'm honored to be completing this program. Thank you very much.